I think sometimes it's important to do a little bit of reality check and take a little different spin at the numbers. I'm going to do that right here because all we talk about is how unpopular Donald Trump is. But in reality, he's basically more popular than he was at any point in term number one and more popular than he was when he won election back in November of 2024. What are we talking about? His net favorable rating right now comes in at -4 points. Compare that to where he was when he won in November of 2024 when he was at -7 points, or March of 2017 when he was at -10 points. So when you compare Trump against himself, he's actually closer to the apex than he is to the bottom of the trough. And of course, that's so important because Donald Trump, historically speaking, has had his numbers underestimated. So I think it's very important to compare him to himself to understand he's
Look at her face. Look at her face.
Actually more popular now than he was when he won, or certainly where he was at this point back in his first term. The bottom line is
Look at her face.
Trump is more towards the ceiling than he is towards the floor.
So when you do that, it makes my knees hurt. So when you look at this compared to sort of historically, what does it tell you about the percentage of folks that think the country itself, with him at the helm, is on the right track?
This, I think, is rather important because, again, if the polls have historically underestimated Donald Trump, what is a metric that might get at understanding at how popular he may actually be? So let's take a look at the percentage of the country who say that we're on the right track. It's actually a very high percentage when you compare it to some historical numbers. What are we talking about? According to Marist, 45% say that we're on the right track. That's the second highest that Marist has measured since 2009. How about NBC News? 44%. That's the highest since 2004. Wow. The bottom line is the percentage of Americans who say we're on the right track is through the roof. And if you were to compare it to when presidents have historically been reelected, of course, Trump is not constitutionally eligible to run for re-election, but I think it sort of puts it in perspective. 42% of the country says the country is on the right track when the incumbent party is re-elected. And also keep in mind, back when Kamala Harris lost and the Democrats were turned out of power, only about 27 to 28% of the country said the country is on the right track. The bottom line is right now, a much higher percentage of the country says we're on the right track. And finally, Sarah Seidner, I want to put it all in the congressional generic ballot.
What about Congress? No.
What about Congress? Because those are the folks who are up in 2026. And take a look here. The Dems versus the Republicans on the generic congressional ballot. Back in November of 2020, when Democrats won, it was +5 Democrats. Tied in November of 2022, +1 in November of 2024 when Republicans maintain control. And then you look at March of 2025. This number looks a lot more like 2022 or 2024 when Republicans won control of Congress. The bottom line is, yes, Donald Trump's approval rating is lower than compared to a lot of his predecessors, but it's higher than compared to himself. A lot of folks say the country's on the right track, and the generic congressional ballot looks a heck of a lot more like when Republicans win than when Democrats win.
It will be interesting to see if any of what just happened with these leaking of the text plays into it in the later poll.
No, not the leaking of the text. No. They scream, they wail, they cry, they gnash their teeth. Good morning, pineapples. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. Wake up and smell the espresso. The best part of waking up is the new espresso shot I can put in my cup. It's delicious. Rise and freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network, broadcasting from Jefferson City, Missouri. This is America. Luke Sacker, Quest Fanning, Caleb Vanderfeld, Dad Bod Baboon, Will Run Riot, Ike Giving a Shits, I Giving a Shits, Bell R. I know that's you, Richard. Amy J. Ease, can't wait to see you soon. What about Grizz Cheese, Brad Beckman, Cecilia H., Kermode Bear, Wonka Wonka Wonka. What's going on, guys? It's another beautiful morning here in America. Floby Tenderson. We appreciate all of our listeners joining us live. Team Mill 22, what you been doing? What you gonna do? Bruce Burtwhistle, good morning, Pineapple.
Good morning, Pineapple. Looking very good, very nice. Good morning, Pineapple. Looking very good, very nice.
It's Wednesday. We're halfway there, but we're not living on a prayer. We got Judge Andrew Napolitano joining us live at 8 a.m. Central. Big brain time. Do foreigners have rights? I know the others. What kind of question is that? No! Only Missourians have rights. Californians have fewer rights than Missourians. In reality, we all have the same rights, right? It's rights are not necessarily constrained to national borders. Now, how can you reflect those rights? How can you, or those rights? How can you protect those rights? How can you actually manage the protection of the individual rights that every single person has? That's the big question, because of course, freedom of speech, right to carry a gun. Do we let people from Mexico just walk guns across the border? Well, we do it for Barack Obama and Operation Fast and Furious, Eric Holder. Can somebody just come from Mexico with an MG42 across the border and be like, "Hey, Texas, this is yeah, we're just walking across the border with firearms"? But it's a Second Amendment right. So I guess, I guess we'll see what Judge Andrew Napolitano has to say. He wrote a column. It's coming out tomorrow. At judgenap.com. Check out his new merch collection. Guess who's housing it, baby? I'm taking over the merch business for the Liberty Movement, for Liberty. And we're going to talk to Judge Napolitano this morning at 8 a.m. Central Time. My old friend, Daniel McCarthy, he goes by the name Tory Anarchist. Oh, which is one of the most fascinating screen names I think you can have. Tory Anarchist. He's a big thinker. Another one. This Wednesday show, it's going to be real stupid, and then it's going to get real smart in a hurry. The first hour is going to be a lot of stupid. Second hour is going to be a lot of smart. So first we drain your brain, and then we fill it back up again. And then we control you and send you out into the streets to do our bidding and tell you to bomb Tesla dealerships. No, don't bomb Tesla dealerships. Make fun of disabled people. So the first hour, Jasmine Crockett calls Governor Abbott Hot Wheels. Texas Governor Greg Abbott, confined to a wheelchair for 40 years, calls him Hot Wheels. Conservatives are all huffy. I just thought it was funny. I don't know. Come on. If we can't mock black people in this country. We can't mock disabled people. Donald Trump does one, and all of a sudden, the Democrats are like, we can't, no. Oh, so Trump can't mock a disabled reporter. But Jasmine Crockett can call Greg Abbott Hot Wheels. I don't know. He's not our man. I'm a Missouri man, and Texas wishes it could be Missouri. Yeah. Missouri is what Texas claims to be. We love freedom here. Welcome to Wake Up America show. Ashley Ann, nice to see you. Make mocking cripples funny again. We stand. Because when's it going to end? Let me tell you something about being a geriatric millennial, born in 1981. Okay, so I'm the tippity toppity of the millennial age limit. We used to have these things called dead baby jokes. Does anybody remember dead baby jokes? How many dead babies can you unload from a truck with a pitchfork? Dead baby jokes, it's, yes, we had dark humor. I think, and as it's, I guess we call it the wussification of America. That's what this is that everybody gets up in arms whenever somebody makes a joke at somebody else's expense. But I remember my brother, we've had this conversation twice, where he's like, we're talking about racist jokes. And I said, Justin, racism is not funny, but racist jokes, however, are hilarious, objectively. And at first time I said that to him, he's like, no. And now that he's based in Red Pill, he's like, yeah, Austin, it's true. Okay. The best thing to do is get around with all your Mexican friends and the one black friend that white people tend to have. Find them out in their communities, guys. You need to meet him at church so you don't have to worry about it. Bring them home to mom. Hey, man, it's racist jokes. Racist jokes, they're funny. I declare them to be funny. They're funny. Even when they're at our expense. And that's the thing, is we have to take jokes. We can't let the left win. We have to be able to laugh at ourselves. Stephanie and I were talking about this the other day, right? I got flaws. People be glad to point them out, right? You do 5 shows a week, you're going to make mistakes. People are like, oh, Austin, your mustache is ugly or something like that. You got big old man titties. You need to eat less food, right? Every day you got to sustain yourself right there. But Stephanie and I, we have these conversations all the time. It's like, you cannot let people influence you too much to what you want to do. I grew this mustache out here, right? I knew you guys were all going to talk about it. We saw some show the other day. Somebody had changed something about their appearance. It's like everybody's going to make fun of you. And what you should do is you should make fun of yourself first. And then by the time your haters come in and make the joke about you, everybody's like, nah, he already said that, right? The joke's over. We already heard that one, right? So it's always best, acknowledge your glaring flaws up front, right? Talk about the thing that everybody knows or is going to poke fun of you at. You make fun of it, laugh at yourself, and then everybody laughs with you, and then all of a sudden, you're the cool guy. How to Win Friends and Influence People, the Wake Up America show, 7:15 a.m. Central Time. I got a billion clips for you. We've got things to discuss. I'm reading spring break articles. I searched spring break on X this morning and waded through all the pornography so that you didn't have to. It was terrible, horrible. Some of it was gay, actually, which means now that I've seen it, Steffi, have a conversation. No, I have to say, spring break, people on spring break, they're out there having fun. I think, so the podcast industry, numbers tend to go down a little bit. Fewer people are listening to shows, joining in live. All the young people are out partying, having fun. Old people like myself are still going to show up and teach class to, maybe no one tonight, but I'm going to show up and do karate. I don't care, show up. Let's, old people don't care. We're going to work out. We got to work out, or else we do get them man titties. Do you realize how much strength you have to have as a 44-year-old man lifting a baby's car seat? I'm having babies now at this point in my life, okay? We're starting to have my first children. Do you realize like how hard Stephanie and I have to work in the gym to make sure we stay strong? Plus, now I'm teaching karate. It's like opportunity in my lifetime. I'm not going to be a fat sensei. I'm going to be a buff sensei. I'm going to be a strong dad, buff karate dad sensei. Girl dad karate dad sensei. What's up, Nelson65, Wyoming Wildman, Dad Bod Baboon, and all of our friends joining us live in the chat. Almost 100 people. Love to see it. If we had 100 people, we would be busting out of this tiny shoe closet that we're in right now. That's the way I like to think about it whenever I perform. Some people, they get nervous about performing. They're like, oh, just imagine everyone else naked. I don't get nervous, and I just imagine myself naked. And so do you. I'm looking at you, Jasmine Crockett. She hits the reverse. Oh, my goodness. So she's backing off it. Apparently, it's not as bad as we all think it was. Jasmine Crockett making fun of the disabled. Let's have a listen. Juicy, juicy, juicy.
Because we in these hot-ass Texas streets, honey. Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot ass mess, honey. So yes. And,
okay, I mean, I guess it's okay. Kyle Becker, he's a good dude. I like him, but he's playing the game here. He's playing the engagement game. So over here on the right, I don't know if you can see the screen or not. Hold on. No, you can't. He says she's only doing this because she's getting called out. He says Jasmine Crockett hits the reverse on her Governor Hot Wheels comment. Make matters worse, she tries to blame the governor for stoking tension and fear by enforcing immigration law. No, that would be Texas congressman encouraging Tesla protests that have fueled violence. Yeah, this is how, this is like Republican boilerplate. I wish I could do this. I just don't have the brain for this kind of stuff. This is how you get the 600,000 followers. You just post red meat, and you never, ever think outside the box. Here's what he says. No offense, Kyle. It's just, I know it's listen, this is a job, man. I get it. I'm in the game too. I should just do what Kyle is doing. She's only doing this because she's getting called out for insulting a disabled person on video, which was funny, Kyle. No, class. She deserves to get censored. I'm sorry, class, but this is the United States of America. Donald Trump is our president. We don't care anymore. We are classless. We are crude. We are lewd. Lewd, crude bag of pre-chewed food dude. Does anybody remember? Who remembers what that's from? Lewd, crude bag of pre-chewed food dude. The first person who guesses what that's from has to drop a Rumble rant.
Can you bless me with something?
Oh, gosh.
Money-wise. Please.
Can you suck it?
Oh, spring break. Join us in supporting the Wake Up America show. I was doing some research, just reading yesterday. Every day I try and read industry magazines to see what I could do to try and make the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network successful. And man, if we had 5 more Daniela Pensacks, we would be good. She did amazing last night. Culturama, biggest show in her history. We had the biggest show in our history on Friday. She had the biggest show in her history yesterday. So, I mean, green shoots over here at For Liberty Network. But I was just reading about how, difficult it is to make this industry work, to make a podcast profitable, successful, right? Are we going to be Joe Rogan? Probably not, but we don't have to be Joe Rogan. We could dominate a niche. We can, expand our presence, expand our merch, bring in other personalities and lift them up, mentor Daniela's, get more people out there to grow our network. And we can make this a successful show. And we're absolutely, the Wake Up America show is in the top 10% of all podcasts. Now, just being consistent will get you in the top 10% of all podcasts. Okay, great. Well, okay, what does that mean to be the top 10%? But once you go from there, 9%, 8%, 7, 6, 5%, top 5, and then from 3, 2, and 1% in terms of top podcasts, it's unbelievable how insane it is in terms of the competition. And, there's a network effect that occurs. So, for example, I don't want to have angst or butt hurt right at my competitors. Anybody's going to have it. But I mean, once you get past a certain point, you're going to get promoted for free to a certain extent and put, given opportunities that people who are sort of below a certain line are not going to get, right? And so, your point is to try and get to that line where it's like, boom, we are self-sufficient and self-sustaining. Stephanie and I, obviously behind the scenes, we're constantly treading water, trying to keep things up and find new talent and grow the Wake Up America show. But the fact that this show 5 days a week has been going now for, I guess this September, it'll be 3 years, it's a miracle. But God helps those who help themselves. And I got to call out all of our monthly supporters over on the Wake Up America show who have been spreading the love, blessing us with something.
Can you bless me with something?
The Faster Pastor says 100 on Rumble is impressive. Bro, I mean, it is hard to get 100 people together and get them to watch a Rumble stream. I mean, and the fact that we had 11,000 people last week, that's some of that free promotion that I got, thankfully, right? I have built myself up a little bit, right? So I get some free promotion. But freedom isn't free, so please drop a Rumble rant, and you get an opportunity to unlock today's bonus content. We're going to talk about the radiation from phones. Every day we produce a mini documentary. If we raise $75 either in Rumble rants by the end of the show, or if we get purchases at the merch shop during the show, those all count in the pool to hit $75 to unlock the bonus content. So let's do it, guys. Let's drop some Rumble rants. Let's get the show started. Bless me with something, $2 or $3. And we'll talk about making fun of disabled people. So here's Jasmine Crockett.
Texas streets, honey. Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot ass mess, honey. So
what's funny is that like her comedy is actually really mid. I mean, I appreciate the attempt, and Governor Hot Wheels itself is objectively funny, but I feel bad for her in some ways because guess what? She got busted for stealing the joke because apparently about a year ago, she liked a post from someone else calling him Governor Hot Wheels. So she stole that joke, honey. She's like, you all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Okay, what's the punchline? You're just calling him a name. If you had a setup to the joke and then, have the expectation and be like Governor Hot Wheels, if you'd set it up and then you would have really gotten a huge laugh. But I mean, that's why she's a congressman and I'm a podcaster. And now Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, she's trying to back off it. She says, I wasn't thinking about the governor's condition. Bullshit. I was thinking about the planes, trains, and automobiles he used to transfer migrants into communities led by black mayors. No. Deliberately stoking tension and fear among the most vulnerable. Wait. Black people are the most vulnerable? Excuse me? Literally the next line I said was that he was a hot mess, referencing his terrible policies. At no point, listen to this, walking it back. At no point did I mention or allude to his condition, so I'm even more appalled that the very people who unequivocally support Trump, a man known for racially insensitive nicknames and mocking those with disabilities, are now outraged. I love retarded people. Click like and subscribe. John and KC, he's now a monthly supporter. Yes. Thank you, John. Mwah, mwah, mwah. All we need to raise $70 more, and we will hit the bonus content. You guys definitely want to unlock it today. It's about the microwave radiation in the phones and how it's getting into your brain, man. Yeah. 5G in my brain, man. Shut up, Austin. If you really want to get the clips, you gotta cook up the conspiratards. Let's continue with making fun of the disabled. So Jasmine Crockett, what? They're gonna introduce a representative. They're gonna censure her. You know what? She's a Democrat. Censor her. Censure her. What you gonna do about it, bitch? You ain't gonna do anything. These Republicans are weenies. They haven't passed any legislation. They're not putting the cuts that Donald Trump is pushing in executive orders. They're not putting them into law. The next president can undo everything Trump has done. We should not take our eyes off of the game. But Scott Jennings, as much as I love him, he saw a good opportunity to get in a jab, and we're gonna let Scott Jennings have a pass on this one from being Serious Sam.
I don't know how the Democrats came to appoint Jasmine Crockett as the unquestioned leader of your party, but thank God. And I think what she should do is go on TV twice as much as she is right now, maybe 3 times as much, because every time she appears and makes one of these mistakes, says something radical, it only further divides her party from the rest of the other 80% of America who can't stand this. But the problem is there's an audience for it. I heard Jimmy Kimmel's audience cheering on Tesla vandalism. I hear the Daily Show audience cheering on attacks on Elon Musk. I hear the human rights audience cheering on an attack on a man in a wheelchair. And I realize this is what the left has become, an angry mob of people who are cheering on attacks on a guy in a wheelchair and vandalism against people who bought a Tesla. It's pathetic. No lesson could ever be learned as long as you're doing these things in front of audiences who roar when you do it. When you have comedians who are broad messengers for the left making unfair jokes and people are roaring, when you have politicians being vulgar and saying they're roaring, what's the lesson?
I wasn't roaring. I don't think they're roaring, but I mean, I get the point, right? Here's how Greg Abbott himself responded to it.
You had an accident at 26, and you were jogging, and you had a very severe injury, and yes, you are in a wheelchair. And I've gotten to know you. You're a personal friend of mine.
Sean Hannity,
I take it
man.
personally when friends of mine are attacked viciously for no reason. And there's no way in hell that this woman and her ex-post is going to convince me she meant anything other than what we all believe it to be. Your reaction?
Well, Sean, is another day and another disaster by the Democrats. The reality is they have no vision, no policy. They have nothing to sell but hate. And Americans are not buying it. It's one reason why Texas is going to remain red and why Republicans are going to continue to win elections across the country. The fact, Sean, is that Texas is actually in direct contrast to what she was talking about. Texas has ranked #1 for the most new jobs in America over the past month, #1 for the most new jobs over the past year and for several years. Texas ranks #1 for the most new economic development projects for 13 years in a row. CEOs who run businesses have ranked Texas the best state for doing business for 20 years in a row. And Texas is in the vanguard as it concerns the future of the United States, such as space exploration, such as artificial intelligence, such as semiconductors, as well as power generation. The bottom line is that Republican states like Texas are leading the way, and with comments like this by Democrats, we will just leave them in the dust in future elections.
Texas and Missouri, not bad. Leading the Texas and Missouri, leading the way. Red states for the win. Yeah, I got a little grudge against Texas Governor Abbott just because of the way that he handled coronavirus, and it was just kind of shady, right? You expected Texas to be more pro-freedom, and it just wasn't. But I'll say this. If I were Greg Abbott's office, if I were working in his comms office, I would do what I could to try and convince the governor to take this negative and turn it into a positive. Does anybody remember Saul Alinsky, Rules for Radicals? If you take it, it's taking a nickname that your opponents gave you and twisting it around and accepting it as your own. What are some examples of that? I mean, hasn't Trump done that? Didn't we, Dark MAGA? Remember when the Democrats did Dark Brandon, right? It didn't work for them necessarily. Obviously, we're talking about Joe Biden, right? You couldn't convince people there was a Dark Brandon. As much as the press tried and didn't report that he was actually, okay, right, more of an Alzheimer's patient, right? No, Austin, don't! How dare you? No, don't make fun of Alzheimer's patients. But I'm just saying that if I were Greg Abbott, I would embrace the Hot Wheels. I would do a Hot Wheels deal. I would find out, do they manufacture Hot Wheels in Texas? Find out if they manufacture Hot Wheels in Texas. Get Hot Wheels put on the side of the thing. But that's the 4D chess. That's the Trumpian strategy right there. So you just adopt the Hot Wheels moniker, go with it, laugh about it. Because I mean, it's relatively innocent, right? I mean, like, oh, you're poking fun of the fact he's in a wheelchair. Well, like, are we supposed to sit around like, oh my God, the disabled? We need an Americans with Disability Act. Well, a lot of Americans did want that, actually. ADA. Austin, this is why you have no friends. I do have friends. I got invited to play cards with my friends on Friday night, and I'm going to do it. That's my spring break. Yarr, get off my lawn. How you doing, guys? Welcome to the Wake Up America show. 130 people watching us live over at Rumble. Rumble's the place to be. And if you're on Rumble and you haven't already, click the like button. If today is your first time watching the Wake Up America show, follow us as well. It's a Monday through Friday thing, man. We get up early, we all hang out, we drink some delicious Founding Flavors coffee from forlibertyshop.com, and we love to talk about the news and make fun of the disabled. Bright Can News, honk honk from Canada. Good morning. Soyuz Hiroshima. Oh, I'm sorry.
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
But it is Canada. I digress. We appreciate all of our friends from the North who desire freedom and to become the 51st state of the United States. I'm not for it per se, but I'm not going to complain if we get Alberta and the oil sands, because frankly, America wants the oil. Give us the oil, Canada. Greenland, we're coming for you. America, yeah, coming again to save the monkin' world. Yeah, Drew Van Runkle, he donated $1, says, I'm so awesome I count as multiple viewers. Damn straight you do, Drew. You're the best. We've raised $6 towards the $75 goal to unlock today's bonus content. If you've said to yourself, wow, I really want to give some money to Austin, but my wallet's all the way on the other side of the room.
Why are you gay?
Just head on over there, grab your wallet, and open it up and donate to the Wake Up America show. We got a family to feed here on the Wake Up. It's a family business enterprise. Spreading freedom made free. Drop a Rumble rant or go to forlibertyshop.com. Buy a box of our delicious coffee at forlibertyshop.com. You'll see popping up on the screen the website for you. If you type in Founding Flavors over at forlibertyshop.com or click on the coffee button at the top of your screen, you'll see our beautiful shop and everybody's spring break-in. Let me tell you about the summer collection over at forlibertyshop.com. I think Brad Beckman set up a sale for today for those who are interested. If you want to save a little moolah, what I recommend, hit up BB for Liberty in the chat for the code, because today we're dropping a summer sale, the Summer of Freedom collection, available at forlibertyshop.com. Check it out. Our beautiful Don't Tread on Me beach towels. Every day, Gulf of America Shark beach towels heading out the door. Ooh, government tank tops. That includes shipping, only $29.99. Get yourself a Donald Trump women's bikini swimsuit. Where else are you going to find a Tuna Chede Malis, Ludwig von Mises multi-size men's tank top? You show up with a Ludwig von Mises Institute multi-size men's tank to the party, guarantee you're going to get you a lady at least as beautiful as our lovely model Ophelia over here at forlibertyshop.com. Ophelia, you're breaking my heart. Only $30 for a Love Mises 2 pieces lady bikini. Does anybody get the joke? Gulf of America tumblers. If you click on the picture, the big picture, you can get Javier Milei tank tops, Department of Government Efficiency tumblers, Teddy Swoelsevelt patriotic pro wrestling tank tops. And every purchase that you make during the Wake Up America show, live show, helps to unlock the bonus content. How could you not want a Liber tumbler glass where rum meets liberty? It's untaxed rum is the best rum. Wake Up America show tanks, FDR sucked and prolonged the Great Depression tank top. Where else are you going to find something like this? Let's make fun of the disabled. FDR. You guys want to hear a libertarian joke? What finally ended the Great Depression? FDR finally fucking died. No, Austin, no! FDR sucked and prolonged the Great Depression. On a tank top, you say, Austin? Who will get these jokes? Only the coolest people. Imagine you show up the FDR sucked tank top at the party. People are going to be like, what the hell? I don't get it, right? He saved us in WW2. You got some boomer, boomer who's like, father fought in World War II. He's like, my father fought in World War II. Would you serve? No, well, then shut up. Gulf of America, pirate flag, beach towels for the boys. Make taxation, theft again towels, sandals, flip-flops, Guantanamo Bay t-shirts, grip it, rip it, quack it, duck tumblers, Ben Drinkin tumblers. What else will you find in the amazing summer collection? The sale is going on today. You can see Brad Beckman has dropped the code in the chat. Unlock the bonus content. Be a hero. Make fun of the disabled. It's the Wake Up America show. Let's be serious. No one else has these things. Why? Because we design them in-house. Ew, government, tank top. I could see that on Amy J.E.'s. She shows up to the party. Ew, government. All the boys be like, whoa, she's a 10, but she has a tank top that says, ew, government. She's a 99, baby. Step into a Slim Jim. It's the Wake Up America show. You can send me a text, 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. It's almost time to take the girls for a walk. Spring break, baby, spring break. What's everybody doing on spring break this year? We're partying. We're doing lots and lots of drugs. We're cheating on our boyfriends.
Michigan.
He doesn't live here?
No, he lives in Michigan.
But you live here?
Yeah, I met him here.
And you're here on spring break?
I met him here, in the beginning of March.
That's dangerous. You're playing a dangerous game right now. It's spring break. I don't know.
I know. I'm locked in.
All right, guys. I interviewed that girl, and she said she had a boyfriend in Michigan. Wow, what the fuck is going on, bro? Unacceptable behavior. Like I said, if you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend and they come to Fort Lauderdale on spring break it off. It's on.
Okay, wait. Here's what my question here. I mean, we all know that the young ladies have gone ultra liberal, which is a sign that very little brain activity. I'm talking about 18 to 40-year-old women going off the leftist deep end. In these polls that we've been discussing in recent weeks, don't get angry at me for pointing out the poll. Here's what this young lady here, ostensibly between 18 and 40 years old, she's got a boyfriend back home. She's got her little vape. She's got her phone. She's got her drink. Who knows what's in that? It's probably good to keep a top on it, girl. Very smart. But how are you going to talk to a reporter? Somebody pulls out a microphone and puts it in your face, and you're going to say, my boyfriend is back home. My boyfriend's back home. And then people they want to ruin their own lives. I mean, why? Spring break. Anybody see that movie, Spring Break? Here's another spring baker.
And I don't care about rules and laws or borders or enforcers because I don't acknowledge you. You're not real. You're a superhero like me, so act like it. Act like a god. Because that's what you are. I want to see my kids. Call my mom. She lies. And then I don't get to see my kids. No more lies. I want truth, transparency, and trust. No more enforcers. I want empathy angels coming to meet needs and make life more wonderful. I want integration, and I want healing conversations that collaborate to meet needs and find a way to move forward together.
Drew Van Runkle in the chat right now is looking at that cake and being like, wood.
I need us to ascend to higher consciousness so we are not running from our sympathetic nervous system. Fight, flight, freeze, fawn, fuck. I want us to attune to bodies and talk about body sensations. Say it, I'm a superhero. Look, you're just like a warrior and you're a king. Animals are meant to come to you because you meet the needs for the planet. Then you're getting a tickle torture. Get everyone together.
Get everyone together. We're doing a tickle torture.
We're all getting a tickle torture, and then I'll go. And if you don't come for a tickle torture, I'm gonna do a. Get that superhero. I'm gonna do a speech for another hour.
She wants to tickle torture us, boys.
Honorary tickle torture. It means your lovability is undeniable and ever.
Anybody want a little?
Come on. I'm gonna get you.
I'm right here.
I know, but you're my favorite, so I just keep getting you. Air hug. Alright, I'm gonna go to the Starbucks.
Who needs a Starbucks when you got founding flavors in the house? Don't buy Starbucks, guys. They take your money and then they use it to fund abortions. Go to forlibertyshop.com and get yourself a box of Founding Flavors coffee. When you see the price, you might say, "Oh my gosh, that's a little bit high." Well, yes, but that includes shipping. Plus, guys, if you compare us to the big national chains and their expensive coffee, if you buy it online, it's comparable price-wise. And for some, it's actually a little bit lower. Try it. If you don't like it, I will buy it back. 1776 will commence if you do not try Founding Flavors coffee. Help to unlock that bonus content, guys. At forlibertyshop.com, buy yourself a box of delicious Founding Flavors coffee and try and avoid those spring breakers. Spring leakers. Everybody's talking about this leak. It doesn't change our lives. It doesn't impact our lives. This is because the news is slow. The news is slow, so everyone is talking about this story, which it's a story. It absolutely is. But if there were huge news going on right now, they wouldn't be talking about this story on the front page like they do. It's one of those things that people in the news business have to make a big story in order to have something to talk about. And, as a professional of television and radio, and now working my way towards documentary filmmaking, I can tell you that there's 24 hours to fill, and there's not enough interesting things happening that are actually affecting you on a daily basis for people like myself in my industry to talk about. So a lot of times we go in and we find stories about spring break. No, Austin, no, not you too, no.
No, God, please, no.
Send me a text at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. One listener texted in about the Governor Abbott Hot Wheels joke and said if the Dems were to just post red meat, they might be more likable. The problem is people like Andrew Yang and Schumer have proven Dems can't grill worth a damn. It's true. We just wanted to grill, for God's sakes, and the left wouldn't leave us alone. The Democrats not only not want to grill, but when they have to do it for a photo shoot, they can't do it. Was it Chuck Schumer? Did he have who had the grill? And he was putting the cold turkey, or the cold piece of chicken on the grill. It was like one raw piece of chicken sitting on a cold grill, talking about how he was grilling. What was that story? Somebody send me a text. Assuming Governor Abbott, this person continued, assuming Governor Abbott is Hot Wheels, then J.B. Pritzker is a Weeble. An evil, fat, communist Weeble. No. Nothing's gonna ever keep you down. You're the best around. Bless me with something, guys. Drop those rumble rants, even if it's just a little bit.
Oh, gosh. Money-wise.
We got to hit that $75 bonus content goal by the end of the show. It's a lot easier if you just head to forlibertyshop.com and make a purchase in our spring collection. If you want to know the coupon code for today, ask Brad in the chat. He works for the For Liberty Network, and he'd be glad to oblige. Remember when James Carville said this?
So, Dan, this is what I believe. I believe that this administration, in less than 30 days, in the midst of a massive collapse, in particularly a collapse in public opinion. Della Volpe at Harvard, who's very good. I used to think, once I saw a Harvard youth poll, I discounted it. I've come to say it's a pretty damn good poll. Pretty good guy. He's gone from 53 approval to under 30 to 39. That's a collapse. And all we need to do, the analogy I use is Pickett is 500 yards from the stone wall. Hold your fire. It's going to be easy pickings here in 6 weeks. Just lay back.
So you literally think 30 days to 6 weeks, the Trump administration is effectively going to collapse in terms of public support?
Well, it's collapsing right now.
Here we are 30 days later. Donald Trump's approval rating shows highest approval rating so far. Democrats face historic discontent. Trump Republicans at record high ratings. Democrats falter. CNN. Democratic Party's favorability drops to a record low. Are you reading my columns over at humanevents.com? You certainly should be. I've been chronicling a lot of these stories. The downfall of the Democratic Party. There are a lot of people who are more informed than me about such things, but that's a very small niche of people who can actually outperform me in terms of coverage, because I outwork everybody. Not only am I doing 5 shows a week, I'm writing 2 columns a week, one which appears at Human Events and the other at AMP America. That's Cliff Maloney's outfit. This is Jack Posobiec's Human Events, and I have been chronicling the downfall of the Democratic Party since the beginning of the year. The Democratic National Convention in January, which gave a masterclass in losing as they elected their new vice chair. I've been writing about how the Supreme Court may try and stop what the Department of Government Efficiency is doing. I've been writing about the Democrats' new stars, Gavin Newsom, Josh Shapiro, Kamala Harris, and how the Democrats' Gen Z problem isn't about podcasts, it's about the results. That is why the Democrats are on the downfall. If you click on my name on any of my articles at Human Events Magazine, you will find all of my pieces. I've been writing about the relationship between Trump and Javier Milei, the attack on Bourbon Street, the lady incel, OnlyFans. My biggest column that I highly recommend anyone read who's interested in the ideas that I espouse, which I call a form of libertarian nationalism. I've written a 1,500-word manifesto myself, and I didn't have to murder anybody. Maybe if I did, it would get more widely read. I know it would be more widely read. The CNN would play it every night how libertarians are terrorists. If one libertarian lit up one, I don't know, what's a leftist car company? Volkswagen? Manifesto for Libertarian Nationalists. I'm really excited to have Tory anarchist on the show today, Daniel McCarthy. He's the type to talk about these things because he wrote an incredible piece over at NYPost.com. An incredible piece at NYPost.com this morning, warning Trump about some of the potential pitfalls standing in his way, about how nationalism itself is a double-edged sword, which I absolutely acknowledge. If you haven't read my manifesto for libertarian nationalists, I highly recommend you do so. It's a new way of thinking, certainly new for the liberty movement in the United States, which has been very much more of an isolationist movement rather than, and I know people are saying non-interventionist. There are a few non-interventionists, but most of the people who call themselves non-interventionists, if you're for tariffs and for no foreign policy, that's isolationism. Okay. That is the definition of isolationism. And Tory anarchist who, low Tory, high Tory, he'll have to explain that to us. But why a Tory who's an anarchist? Really, he calls himself a Whig, more of a Whig, WHIG Whig, you know, that type. Daniel McCarthy will join me at 8:30 a.m. Central Time to talk about the potential pitfalls. You might call my friend Daniel McCarthy maybe a paleocon, a paleo-conservative. And these are people who are very much ascendant on the right. You'll want to hear from him. He used to be the editor of American Conservative Magazine, which is, I believe, still a very respected magazine, periodical on the right, much more in the Pat Buchanan vein of thinking, right, than the Ron Paul school of thinking, which is where my fever brain of libertarianism was born. The fires of Petersonism were born in the fires of Paulism and Napolitanism, which, by the way, we will have in 10 minutes for you. The left side of my brain, I'm the right side of his, Judge Andrew Napolitano, yes. I'm a realistic anarchist, says Wyoming Wild Man. He says, I'd love to see a world without rulers, but alas, not everyone has personal responsibility. Very true. Drew Van Runkle, he's going to give up and say he's going to read my bullshit. It is fun. It's a very good article. I worked very hard on it. And it's charting a new path, a new course for libertarianism in the United States, which we desperately need. Matt, 9186, what's up, my brother? Says that would be funny. Democrats would defend Volkswagen, completely ignoring the fact it was SS. That's the joke. You're in the right place. Matt 91091186. You're in the right place, Matt. You're amongst friends. Glad that you get our humor. We're going to speak to Judge Andrew Napolitano here a little bit less than 10 minutes from now. Let's listen to Democrats encouraging violence against. Why are the Democrats so unpopular? Why are they so unpopular? Here's a 4-minute clip before we hear from Judge Napolitano. That should explain it all.
Someone threw a Molotov cocktail at a Tesla service center. At least 5 Teslas blew up. When you pull out a chainsaw to celebrate firing thousands of people, they get mad. It's just Let's
send these techno-fascist oligarchs and old-fashioned Nazis a message loud and clear.
The vandalism really shows the outright anger and rage that people are feeling about what Elon Musk is doing.
We should all be protesting in the streets about this and be incredibly angry.
It has taken the American people to go protest at Tesla to get the president's attention.
Try to dismantle the reputation of Tesla in hopes of hitting Elon Musk where it hurts.
He's incompetent. He's a thief. He's a Nazi.
Musk is a pathological liar. He's a criminal. He's a sociopath and a ghoul. He's literally killing people, but he should really enjoy taking this guy down.
And all I want to see happen on my birthday is for Elon to be taken down. Yes.
Elon Musk kind of turned out to be I don't want to be driving the car built and designed by.
If you drive a Tesla, please sell it. And if you own stock in Tesla, please dump it.
I've never wanted to buy a Tesla because I prefer to buy cars made by car companies, not computer companies.
I added Tesla to give me a little boost during the day. 225 and dropping.
Tesla's tanking right now, and I'm okay with that.
Tesla is a meme stock. It is one of the most wildly overinflated stock.
Tesla stock is way down. Please don't ever vandalize Tesla vehicles. And so
they're taking to the streets or the parking lots.
Tonight, the FBI and ATF now investigating multiple cases of possible arson.
Oh, you guys like petty acts of domestic terrorism, huh?
Camp Bondi piece is very disturbing to me. To hear her throwing around words like terrorist.
Is it appropriate to increase penalties? No, it's not.
Same thing with Pam Bondi. She's, just stop that. It's a masquerade. This is just ridiculous.
Do you believe that these protests at Tesla dealerships?
She really said masquerade instead of masquerade with a straight face.
Ships meet the definition of domestic terrorism?
No definition that I can think of. First off, I've only heard about peaceful protests.
You try to kill cops to overthrow the government and change an election. That's not domestic terrorism, but somehow having a protest in front of a Tesla dealership is.
He said today he would label violence against dealerships domestic terrorism. You protest a private company, you are labeled by this administration a domestic terrorist.
January 6 rioters who committed heinous acts of violence on our Capitol. That's okay, but it's not okay with Tesla.
There's a big difference between vandalism and terrorism, and the consumer is basically taking out their feelings on companies with politics they disagree with. And that's not always vandalism and violence and throwing fires, but people sort of take it out on individual companies based on their politics, which is why some companies are trying to backtrack from politics and political stances they took in the last decade.
Yeah, and Elon Musk obviously has put himself squarely in the middle of that.
You do it to a Tesla dealership, it's really bad. But when they do it to the halls of Congress, we should pardon them. They're legitimately upset at Elon Musk, and they're legitimate. Doing it on their own.
Elon Musk pointing fingers at the left over that spate of attacks against Tesla vehicles and dealerships across the country.
Violent attacks, these acts of violence and vandalism. Is there any evidence to indicate that there is a connection between the attacks and any of these Democratic groups?
Absolutely zero.
There is no evidence that this is something that's being, orchestrated or, organized by the left.
And I don't even know if the folks who are doing the vandalism are actual Democrats or Republicans. Both sides feel unseen, unheard, and they're taking violence to express themselves.
We have to make them really afraid. People are going to die, and it's going to get as ugly as we can think. It's time to make them pay.
When we get back with Judge Napolitano, we're going to talk about free speech and what it means. Does it apply to people who are not American citizens? If you have questions for the judge, send us a text. The number you see on the screen. Bless me with something. Drop those Rumble rants or go shopping at the Grift Shop. Help to unlock that bonus content today, guys. We'll be right back with the judge. Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your founding flavors at apforlibertyshop.com.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensack. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that at the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says...
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network. Last night, our new show, Culturama, had their biggest show ever. Last Friday was our biggest show ever in terms of live viewers and overall views. I just want to say thank you to everyone who has helped to keep this show live 5 days a week for 3 years. Most podcasts don't make it past 9 episodes. It's all thanks to guys like you. People who click the like button, people who follow, or people who go to the merchandise shop at forlibertyshop.com. I just want to give a big shout out and say thank you to all who have helped us get to this point. 10 to 12 years ago, I lived in New York City, of all places, if you can believe it. And now I live out in the woods. And it was there that I had the opportunity of a lifetime to study the principles of liberty from one of its masters. And certainly Judge Andrew Napolitano has gone beyond the rank of master. He's a sage and a scholar. He's the host of Judging Freedom, his own mega hit podcast, as well as a columnist that he writes at judgenap.com every Thursday. Joining us live for his regular Wednesday spot, a scholar and a sage, Mr. Napolitano. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Austin. Thank you for the very kind and generous invitation. Those were very, very, very happy days when we worked together, 10, 12 hours a day, 5 days a week.
My knowledge of the Constitution pales in comparison to yours, but it also, mine is relatively higher than the average population. We've been watching videos of spring breakers. They don't know the first thing about how government works. And I really think that the education judge in this country is a culprit. It's hard to look at Donald Trump writing an executive order to end the Department of Education and feel anything other than, some sense of glee. I wish the legislature would pass it. But nevertheless, we live in interesting times, Judge. And I think one of the biggest misunderstandings people have is the concept of rights and how those rights apply to individuals. Some people say we don't have rights, that rights are just a made-up concept. But you write about St. Augustine. You talk about free speech. And I wonder, Judge, if people like Khalil Mahmoud, who come to the United States, they're not American citizens, they go to American universities, and they set up protests at American universities against our government, and they are foreigners committing acts of damage and vandalism in many senses. Do those people have free speech rights to do everything that he's done? Should he be deported? Talk to us about your thoughts, Judge, on freedom of speech and how it might apply to this young college student.
Well, the answer is not an easy one. If you follow the Constitution textually, that is, if the plain meaning of the words, of course he has free speech rights. But if you follow legislation that Congress has written, it authorizes the Secretary of State to expel someone, even a permanent resident alien, if the person's presence in the opinion of the Secretary of State presents an impediment to the effective execution of foreign policy. That statute is obviously at odds with the Fifth Amendment, which says whenever the government wants to take life, liberty, or property from any person, not from any American, but from any person, it has to afford due process. And of course, when the statute and the Constitution conflict, the Constitution prevails, and it is the duty of judges to make that determination. In the case of the young man from Syria, well, he was born in Syria, he is a Palestinian, the person we're talking about, Mr. Khalil, the government did not allege any crime, did not allege any inappropriate behavior, did not allege the violation of any statute. Merely it alleged the conclusion of Marco Rubio, probably never heard of this kid, that his presence on the Columbia campus is an impediment to the effective execution of American foreign policy. There isn't a judge in the country that would grant deportation on that basis without some evidence. In order to avoid having to present evidence, they shipped him to Louisiana, a place where the government almost always wins and where the government has a very large detention center to which people are sent from around the country who are pending deportation. When a federal judge in New York ordered him brought back to New Jersey, which makes this even more complicated. New Jersey has nothing to do with this, but I'll tell you why New Jersey, if you want to get into the weeds in a minute. The government still hasn't complied with that order. Khalil is still in Louisiana, and so his case is being addressed by two judges, and an immigration judge in Louisiana and a federal district court judge in Newark, New Jersey. The federal district court judge is an Article III judge appointed by the president, confirmed by the Senate for life and truly independent. The immigration judge works for the prosecutor. Who's the prosecutor? Kristi Noem. Who is she? She's the Secretary of Homeland Security. Who does an appeal from the immigration judge go to? Kristi Noem. It's an absurd system. It's not even on its face a fair system. That's why lawyers often file these habeas corpus proceedings, a fancy phrase for bring my client into the courtroom and justify his confinement in front of a judge. They file these proceedings before Article III judges because they're not going to get a fair shake in the administration or the immigration courts. To make this even more unconstitutional, the Constitution specifically says if the government wants life, liberty, or property in a proceeding against you, it must bring the proceeding in the judicial district in which it says you did whatever it says you did. In this case, that would be New York City, not New Jersey, and not Louisiana. So that's where we find ourselves with this young man. Another Columbia case involving a South Korean female student, also permanent resident alien, not a student visa. She learned that the feds were looking for her and she disappeared. Didn't even tell her lawyers where she was. The lawyers filed a habeas proceeding and the court held a trial. And yesterday the trial was concluded and the court found out and ruled after the government presented its evidence. Now the girl's not in the courtroom, her lawyers are. They claim they don't know where she is. Her lawyers are, the feds are, and the feds witnesses. The judge concludes that the young woman stood at the edge of the Columbia University green and watched a student demonstration. She didn't participate in it. She didn't lead it. She didn't cause it. She didn't do anything unlawful whatsoever. She stood there with other students and watched. And the federal judge permanently enjoined her deportation. She's still in hiding because she doesn't really trust the system. But that's where we are with all of this today. These are prosecutions based on speech. The quote that you sent me last night when you saw my column this morning is so appropriate. You know, without free speech, we are lambs to the slaughter. Who said that? Trump's first predecessor, the guy that won the American Revolutionary War for us.
Judge, I, like you, believe that individual natural rights are tied to the individual. You believe that our individual natural rights come from God. I'm more on the side of nature's God, as Thomas Jefferson discussed it, right? But this concept of our rights being tied to our individual leads one to question how well did the founding fathers articulate that in the Bill of Rights. So if Khalil Mahmoud can come to the United States and practice his First Amendment rights, does that mean that we also must allow, in terms of our self-defense, people to flood across the southern border carrying firearms, for example? Strikes me as unreasonable. But if someone has a Second Amendment right as firmly as they have a First Amendment right, then in theory, national borders should not prevent an incursion from potentially alien enemies fleeing across, running across the border carrying firearms. Your thoughts on this conundrum?
The short answer is yes, you are correct. The longer answer is being an alien doesn't make you an enemy. The Congress has defined enemy in a statute, and it is an agent of a person from a country or a government at war with the United States. This is the problem with Trump's cavalier use of the Alien Enemies Act. The Alien and Sedition Acts had four different acts, four different statutes. The one we all know about and condemn is the one that permitted prosecution for speech. That's the one under which Congressman Matthew Lyons was convicted for mocking John Adams' waistline. The other one had to do with the circumstances under which people from France could become resident aliens and then American citizens. The third also had to do with aliens from friendly countries. The fourth had to do, this is the one that's still around. The other three were rescinded by the Federalist Congress after Jefferson was elected because they were worried that the anti-Federalists would use it against them. The one that's still around is the Enemy Alien Act. Trump argued that this permits summary deportations, that is, deportations without notice or hearing. If you read the act, which is actually very brief, it's only 3 paragraphs, and it's written in such a 1798 language, Austin. It actually says, before you deport these people, you must give them time to gather their personal effects. And then it says, if they deny that they're enemy aliens, you have to hold a hearing. Now, there are 236 males in jail cells the size of coffins in a hellhole in El Salvador because Donald Trump sent them there with no notice and with no hearing. And many of their representatives say not only are they not gang members, they fled Venezuela to avoid this gang. And the government is afraid to present evidence before a real judge, not one of their immigration judges who works for the same boss they do. The government is afraid to present evidence before a real Article 3 judge because they don't have the evidence. They just swoop these people up. They don't even know the names of all these people. So this is hardly due process. Now, this is a long-winded answer to your question, and I apologize for the length. To summarize, under the Constitution, everybody's entitled to a hearing. Under certain statutes, the government gets away with whatever the hell it wants.
It's sad and true, Judge. What is a proper constitutional, legal, and moral path to prevent actual enemies, stated and declared enemies of the United States, from entering the country with firearms? So I'm speaking about someone who is committed to breaking who is a part of a criminal conspiracy, an international terrorist organization, commits to come to the United States and speak their free speech and then commit acts of terrorism in the United States? How do we actually prevent that?
If a person, under the law now, not under my world where you can travel wherever you want, but under the law, if a person comes to the United States illegally, that is not through immigration channels, they can be arrested until a hearing is held, whether they are armed or not, whether they're part of some foreign gang or not. But no one is an enemy under the law unless they come from a country which is at war with the United States. And even though we are funding 2 wars, one in Gaza, one in Ukraine, we are not at war with either of the adversaries. Now, you could argue we're a co-belligerent with the Israelis against the Gazans, and we're a co-belligerent with the Ukrainians against the Russians. You can make that argument. But under the law, we are not at war with Russia, and we are not at war with Palestine. Therefore, there are no human beings under the Enemy Alien Act who qualify for the immediate swooping up and removal of them unless they ask for a hearing. In all the immigration laws, the government tells you you're going to have a hearing. Under the Enemy Alien Act, you have to request a hearing, provided you have the opportunity to make the request. These people had no opportunity. They were put on planes. The federal judge said planes can't take off. The planes took off anyway. So another very serious issue is ignoring federal orders. If the president ignores federal orders and gets away with it, oh boy, you're going to see judicial orders trampled all around the country, and the system will collapse.
Judge, after you and I speak this morning, I'm going to speak to an old friend of ours. I'm not sure if you remember the former editor of the American Conservative, Daniel McCarthy. He goes by the name Tory Anarchist online, and it's a very funny name because, of course, he does consider himself to be something of more of a Whig, the old Whig school, right? The paleo-conservatives. Right, these are the strategy that Murray Rothbard tried to enact throughout the 1990s. Many of these people in this Pat Buchanan populist school, right, many of these on the right, they, as libertarianism has taken a backseat from the Tea Party years and Trumpism has been ascendant in recent years, right, the MAGA coalitions, of course, heavily restrictionist on immigration, at odds with the more libertarian view. Their criticism of our point of view is to suggest that by allowing illegal immigrants or immigrants to come to the United States and to, with impunity, barricade, buildings, public buildings like Columbia University, or like you say, perhaps coming to the United States with firearms, potentially with their willingness to do harm, that this presents a unique challenge to libertarian views because classical liberalism, as you sort of articulated here, is very much susceptible to being taken over. In other words, allowing, as the Romans did, the barbarians to come into Rome and to not only come into Rome, but also serve in the military, and then, of course, to have people from a foreign land whose allegiance was not to Rome, is one of the primary reasons of the fall of Roman civilization. That, and of course, all of the cutting of the shekels and the money base being debased, of course, Judge. But how would you respond to someone on the right-wing populists, and the criticism of the libertarian worldview when it comes to immigration, in a sense that it makes us uniquely susceptible to those who wish to do us harm, or perhaps come to our country to do us harm because of the liberties that you're advocating for? How would you fight back against their point of view?
Well, on the Roman history, I reject that analysis. Rome fell because it overextended itself, because it had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of military bases around the world, which eventually became too burdensome to support. Sound familiar? That's the direction, of course, in which the United States is going. If the Romans had stayed on what is now modern-day Italy, I don't think they would have collapsed like an overripe apple as they did. In terms of our friends who don't trust the government to deliver the mail, who don't trust the government to fill potholes, who don't trust the government to collect taxes, somehow trust the government to control the board, don't trust the government to regulate the economy, somehow trust the government to regulate the borders, is inconsistent to me. They do not believe in natural rights, because the great natural right is the right to leave, the right to move, the right to walk away from the government and go wherever you want. Now, that doesn't mean that a person can come onto my property. Of course not. My property rights trump their travel rights. But it does mean that they can travel on a government road, because the government can't constitutionally discriminate on the basis of national origin. That is not the law today, but that is a libertarian view of the law. How could you possibly trust the government to decide who can come in the country? James Madison didn't trust the federal government as to who can come in the country. Read the Constitution. Naturalization is left up to the feds. Immigration is left up to the states. How did the feds get the power to control immigration? An 1886 Supreme Court opinion that cited no authority basically said, well, we're not a real country if we can't control our borders. Therefore, even though James Madison didn't put it in the Constitution, of course the Congress can control immigration. Just as simple as that. Blatantly and profoundly made up out of thin air.
Interesting, Judge. It's a major debate happening on the right now, and there aren't many voices who are articulating it as you do. I mean, it's, you know, on one hand, right, that we cite the Constitution and the law. On the other hand, we know what's moral transcends the law and even transcends the Constitution itself. I love the Constitution, but I don't like thinking of it as a sacred document, right? It's not a holy script. And it, you know, the Constitution as it is right now contains the 16th and the 17th Amendments. So I guess my question for you is, Judge, is, you know, political realities that we face right now. I mean, do you ever think, you know, what is the strategy for liberty here in the short term to defend liberty from those who do not care about the Constitution, but not in the same way that you and I don't care. In other words, that morality must reign first, but those Machiavellians who will do whatever it takes to attain power over us. Like what in the short term would you say would be a wise decision for libertarians? I mean, other than perhaps save a fool.
To follow the leadership of somebody like Congressman Thomas Massey.
Yes.
Young, energetic, brilliant, articulate, lovable. You know, he's a young Ron Paul. That's exactly what the libertarian movement needs, and he may very well be the person to do that. Whether he does it as a congressman from Kentucky, as the governor of Kentucky, or as the junior senator from Kentucky, along with, who seems to be getting better with age, if you don't mind me saying that, the other senator from Kentucky, Senator Rand Paul. I'm going to have to go in about 2 minutes, Austin,
Sure.
because of other demands on my time. I love these conversations. I love them.
Me too, and they certainly are important for people to hear. Have definitions of due process. People shouldn't have to have due process explained to them, but unfortunately, because of the state of the country, that's where we're at right now. Due process does matter, Judge. Thank you for making an argument and pointing true north towards liberty. Do you want to give us a sneak preview of your upcoming guests or your?
Oh, today at noon, I have one of the world's greatest orators in defense of personal liberty and peace, George Galloway, the great George Galloway, former member of the House of Parliament, who drove the leadership of both parties up the walls, and looking forward to that very much.
Fantastic. Judge Andrew Napolitano, read his weekly column at judgenap.com, and he's here every Wednesday with us. Download his show, Judging Freedom, wherever you get your podcast. Thank you, Judge. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next week.
Back at you, Austin. All the best.
Thank you very much, Mr. Napolitano. You probably, if you're watching the stream, you see me struggling a little bit with the formatting. I don't know why it's not letting me format it so you can see the judge in his big, beautiful glory. But I'm just doing the best I can to keep everything up and alive. Thank you very much. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. Click the like button if you haven't already. I see that we've lost a new friend, unfortunately, Crayola, over in the chat. He was mad at me, I guess, for shilling for drugs yesterday and for the judge making the anarchist argument when it comes to immigration. We are a libertarian show, which means that we offend everybody, left, right, middle, even ourselves. There's nobody that libertarians hate more than other libertarians, of course. But if you are the type, if you are not a fragile snowflake, and if ideas that are different, or ideas maybe that you've never heard before or heard from a different angle before, if they don't scare you, if you are not frightened, if you don't tuck your tail between your legs and run like a giant pussy whenever you hear ideas that are different, then you're in the right place. It's the Wake Up America show. You can hear all the same status bullshit, the authoritarian horseshit on every other channel that's here on the Wake Up America show. If you watch the Wake Up America show, you'll see sometimes things that are recommended on the side. They'll give you that same slop content that you're going to get. Sean Hannity exists for your pleasure. He will never say anything that would risk offending anyone in his audience because he's all about the money, money, money. But if, like me, you like to contend with dangerous ideas, if you like to hear things sometimes that tickle your vagina, then you're in the right place at the Wake Up America show. Click the like button, subscribe to the channel, click follow. If you like to hear ideas that are new, that are fresh, tyranny's an old idea, liberty's a young idea, and we stand for liberty. And can you bless me with something? Let's donate to unlock that bonus content at forlibertyshop.com. The collection, the summer collection, is available forlibertyshop.com. If you go to forlibertyshop.com, you'll see our Summer of Freedom collection is open for business. The Gulf of America Shark Beach Towel, the #1 seller over there. Let's give it up for the Gulf of America Great White Shark American flag. People really love this design. You can get it on more than just a beach towel. You can go to forlibertyshop.com and get it on a tumbler as well. Joey Matto says, Hannity bought a new house in Florida for a lot, millions of dollars. Not bad. That's what never contradicting people's biases. If you want to be successful in this business, you have to tell people what their opinion is, but in your own voice. Drew Van Runkle, thanks for the donation, brother. Come home to the nap, baby. Hell no. Sambuca says the canned audience stuff took a while to get used to, but I like it now. It's part of the show. God bless you, sir. It's happening. See, it's.
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm. What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure?
There you go. See, we all love it. It's canned audience, and at first, whenever people hear it, it is a little jarring. But now it's like it's part of the ambiance, right? So there's an audio. It's the Wake Up America show is an audio experience. Where else are you going to hear things like, as well as,
why are you gay?
And let's not forget, I'm an actual Japanese karate sensei.
Bow to your sensei. Bow to your sensei.
So where else are you going to get the Wake Up America? Where else are you going to get content like the Wake Up America show? Nowhere else. Where else are you going to get amazing Gulf of America merch? Nowhere else. Only at forlibertyshop.com. All we got to do is have a couple of boxes of coffee sold, and we'll unlock that bonus content, baby. So go to forlibertyshop.com. That's the number 4libertyshop.com. And when you do, guys, you'll unlock that bonus content. Once we hit $75 raised, the bonus content will be unlocked, and you will help to support a small business, a small family, and to say very dangerous things like this.
Hello, my name is Scarlett Kelly, and I am officially declaring war on the Republican Party. If you are a Republican on TikTok and you want to interact with me, you deserve to die. You deserve to be shot. You deserve whatever suffering could possibly come to you. If you are a Republican and try to start any of that kind of nonsense with me in person, you will lose your life. This is war. I am not joking. It's done. You are not an American anymore. You're out. You're off the list. You've been naughty. Like, come on. We're going to start giving you the coal in the form of massive stones on top of a slab of wood on top of you. Have a wonderful day.
Jesus. He didn't even kiss me goodbye. Are you sure that's a he? Daniel McCarthy, he's a Tory anarchist. He's got some different views from Judge Napolitano. See, all Crayola had to do was stick around for another 10 minutes, and they would have heard someone who was here to say their opinion to them in their own words back. Well, Daniel McCarthy, he's got a few words to say, but they're for Donald Trump. A word of warning from the very, very wise. It's Big Brain Wednesday. We'll be right back. Go shopping on the Wake Up America show's merchandise shop at forlibertyshop.com. We'll be right back. Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your Founding Flavors at apforlibertyshop.com. While we're waiting for Daniel McCarthy to join us over in the chat, we unlocked the bonus content. Thank you, guys. So I'll play that for you right now. Enjoy, and we'll be right back with Daniel McCarthy, Tory anarchist, paleo-conservative, former editor of the American Conservative magazine, when we get back. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has stirred the pot again, this time over cell phones. In a recent appearance on Fox and Friends, he said that phones emit radiation that causes neurological damage to kids, cellular damage, and even cancer. Now it's easy to roll your eyes. Critics jumped on it immediately, calling it fear-mongering and conspiratorial. But here's the thing. While Kennedy may be overstating the science, he's not just making it up out of thin air. And ironically, some of his loudest critics are guilty of their own flavor of scientific exaggeration. Let's get something straight. Yes, cell phones emit radio frequency radiation. That's real. But it's non-ionizing radiation, the kind that doesn't carry enough energy to directly damage DNA or cells. Unlike ionizing radiation, like X-rays, it doesn't rip electrons from atoms. The vast majority of studies show no consistent link between cell phone use and cancer. The National Cancer Institute, the FDA, the EPA, they've all stated there's no strong evidence of harm. One major 2012 review in bioelectromagnetics found no statistically significant increase in brain or head tumors from phone use. But Kennedy's not completely pulling this out of nowhere. There are some lower quality studies that, if cherry-picked, can look alarming. In a 2017 study, for instance, rodents exposed to high levels of RF radiation showed increased tumor rates. But those radiation levels were far beyond anything humans are typically exposed to, and we're not rats. Another older study looked at brain tumors in humans and suggested a possible link in the top 10% of phone users, but it relied on self-reported data about phone usage from years earlier. Not exactly ironclad science. Radiation oncologist Gerald Bushberg puts it this way. There's a lot of low-quality research that, if you wanted to collect all of it and package it together, could look very damning. That's where RFK Jr. is coming from. He's just ignoring the better, more robust research that says otherwise. Still, he's not alone in selectively citing shaky science. A lot of his critics say, sure, the radiation thing is overblown, but phones really do hurt kids. Just look at the depression, the anxiety, the mental health crisis. Except, that's also not a slam-dunk conclusion. The link between screen time and teen mental health isn't nearly as clear as people claim. Yes, there are studies showing associations between high social media use and depression, but correlation isn't causation. Are depressed kids using phones more, or are phones making kids depressed? That's the million-dollar question. A lot of the research doesn't control for confounding variables, and in many cases, the effects are so small they barely register. In fact, some large-scale studies suggest that social media use may have no measurable effect on teen well-being once you account for other factors like family dynamics and socioeconomic status. Yet we've created this narrative that phones are poisoning our kids' minds, when, in truth, the jury is still out. It's just as shaky to say phones cause teen depression as it is to say phones cause cancer. Here's the real takeaway. Both sides are oversimplifying this conversation. Kennedy is wrong to push fear about cancer and neurological damage without robust evidence, but critics who say their worries are grounded in real science aren't doing much better when they cite inconclusive studies about teen mental health. It's totally fine to be cautious about phones. There are good reasons to limit screen time, especially in classrooms. Phones can distract from learning and reduce real-world social interaction. But let's not confuse personal or moral discomfort with settled science. If we're going to make health claims, on either side, we need to stick to what the research actually says. And right now, there's no solid scientific basis to claim that cell phones are physically harming kids' brains or bodies. Emotionally, socially, that's a much messier and still unresolved debate. So yes, Kennedy's wrong, but his critics might be too. The truth, as usual, is more complicated than the headlines. Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your Founding Flavors at apforlibertyshop.com.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensack. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
But I think about that when I think about somebody in their own instance, because I didn't really fully, on my own accord, come to terms with being gay until I was at a funeral of a friend, and there was a little boy in the crowd who was clearly the gayest little thing I had ever seen, and I burst out in tears because at that moment it was the first time that I actually was completely and utterly clear that that child was just a child with innocence, and it was obvious to me that he wasn't choosing a damn thing.
Why are you gay?
Why are you gay? Welcome to the Wake Up America show. That was Democratic Representative Chad Clifford explaining that he didn't know that he was gay until he saw a little gay boy. And when he saw the little gay boy, he knew that he was gay. I'm sorry, did I hear that correctly? This was said in a House Judiciary Committee. Democratic Rep Chad Clifford. Yeah, that's a photograph of him surrounded by children, speaking to children. I think I have to hear this again.
But I think about that when I think about somebody in their own instance, because I didn't really fully, on my own accord, come to terms with being gay until I was at a funeral of a friend. And there was a little boy in the crowd who was clearly the gayest little thing I had ever seen. And I burst out in tears because at that moment, it was the first time that I actually was completely and utterly clear that that child was just a child with innocence, and it was obvious to me that he wasn't choosing a damn thing.
I have no idea what's going on there. And I have no idea why Daniel McCarthy is not here. So I'm just going to talk about his article anyway. I was so excited to speak to Daniel McCarthy, but maybe he overslept this morning. It's the East Coast. There's no way. It's 9:43 on the East Coast, but it's 8:43 in God's country, Jefferson City, Missouri. Welcome to the Wake Up America show, guys. Thank you for unlocking the bonus content. I played it for you there during the break. I was hoping that Daniel McCarthy would be able to join us, but he hasn't been able to find his way over to Zoom. And I've been having some issues with Zoom anyway. It's like looking kind of weird, so I've got to like mess with that. But he wrote an article in the NYPost 2 days ago. The title was "Trump the Dealmaker Must Learn That Nationalism Cuts Both Ways or Risk Wrecking His Presidency." Trump is nothing if not strong-willed, and he's the leader of the mightiest nation on earth. But there's one power even Trump cannot afford to discount. It's the power of nationalism and national pride, which Trump himself harnessed to win 2 terms in the White House. But the same force that helped him make him president will wreck his presidency if he fails to take it seriously enough in his foreign policy. Trump is a consummate deal maker, and bargaining with friends and foes alike depends on appealing to their self-interests. But self-interest isn't always a stronger motive than self-respect where other nations are concerned. The president could get away with needling then Prime Minister Trudeau, referring to him as Governor of Canada. But he can't tease Canada into becoming America's 51st state. An outright economic warfare, if his threatened tariffs ever do come into full effect, won't suffice either. Trump demolished Trudeau's premiership, but the American president is actually strengthening Trudeau's Liberal Party, whose new leader, Mark Carney, has called snap elections to capitalize on the opportunity that Trump has created for him. Canadians were dismayed by Trudeau's Biden-like performance, and they were ready to dump the Liberals in favor of the Conservative Party and its leader, Pierre Poilievre. The Conservatives had a wide lead in polls until Trump declared a trade war. Now, Tory anarchist Daniel McCarthy, who is unfortunately not here, would make this argument if he were here, as a right-leaning populist, as a Tory anarchist, not a libertarian like myself, right, is saying here that the trade war has emboldened Canadian liberal leadership. Canadians know full well how dependent they are on American trade, but they also feel there's more than money at stake here. Trump has called into question Canada's very right to exist as an independent nation, and that has awakened Canadians' long-dormant nationalism. Carney, as a leader of the party of power in Ottawa, gets to play hero by promising to stand up to the foreign bully. And now polls show the Liberals tied with the Conservatives, who've been quick to assert their own patriotic zeal in condemning Trump's policies. Trump professed not to care about who won the Canadian election and even said, "I'd rather deal with a Liberal than a Conservative." But was that a bit of a reverse psychology to turn Canada's fury at Trump against the Liberals? Or does Trump think that a few more years of Liberal government will cripple Canada and make his offer of union with America more attractive? Either way, Trump is playing with fire. Nationalism isn't easily quenched once it gets going, as we know far too well. And Canadian national identity has, for 250 years, been defined by not being American. It's the land that America's pro-British Tories fled to during our Revolutionary War, after all. Damn, why couldn't you be here, Mr. Tory anarchist, to make these arguments? As you would think that a Tory, which Daniel McCarthy is, would not write a sentence like, "It's the land that America's pro-British Tories fled to during a Revolutionary War, after all." You would think that maybe he would sympathize with these Tories. Maybe he is. That's why he's saying this. It's a stealth Canadian article from Daniel McCarthy. Just kidding. Now, Canadians and Americans, we look and sound alike, but then the same can be said for Ukrainians and Russians. Trump's disregard for Canadian nationalism risks turning our closest ally, geographically speaking, into a suspicious neighbor. Right? Ironically, in his own way, Trump is paying Canada a high compliment. He knows real estate, and he sees Canada as immensely valuable for the United States, but the Canadians aren't looking to sell at any price. Denmark isn't looking to sell Greenland, although doing so wouldn't mean the end of Denmark as its own country. Greenlanders themselves have thought about independence, though their population and economy are so small that controlling the world's largest island on their own at a time when the Arctic is of rising economic and military importance isn't very practical. But what will Trump do if the Danes or the Greenlanders don't want a deal? Panamanian nationalism is tightly tied to the Panama Canal. And while the government may not be able to hold out against U.S. pressure, the people of that land would find surrender of the canal to American ownership a bitter thing to swallow. The Trump administration is wise to think in terms of the Monroe Doctrine and the security of America's own hemispheric neighborhood. But a heavy-handed approach that aligns nationalism with anti-Americanism from the Yukon to the Caribbean would be disastrously counterproductive. The more America acts like an imperial power, the more nationalist movements in other countries will treat us like one. In the Cold War, the Soviet Union was surprised to discover neither tanks nor secret police could extinguish a yearning for independence and freedom in the captive nations of Eastern Europe. Where communists did use nationalism and anti-imperialism to their advantage in Southeast Asia and elsewhere, they often succeeded. Vietnam. Putin's Russia is less powerful but far more intimidating than the United States. But Putin was shocked to find Ukraine would not submit to threats of force. Trump is a proud American patriot, which is one reason he dreams of expanding the nation's territory. But to succeed in diplomacy and grand strategy, Trump will have to make nationalism work for him, not against him, just as he did in domestic politics. It's the Wake Up America show, guys. Sorry, no Daniel McCarthy. I have no idea. Sometimes people just don't show up. Yeah. I'll do my best. Whoa. Somebody messaged me, said, congrats on the viewership numbers past Friday. 11,000 plus live. American media icon over on X sent me a DM this morning. Good morning. You can send me a text. See that phone number at the bottom of the screen? 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. You can text me anytime, night or day. It might be me, might be Steffi getting back to you. Let us know what's on your mind. If you're listening to the audio version later, Stephanie's been really a mensch, uber mensch, cutting the audio podcast later. Let's give it up for Steffi. She does so much to help make this business work. Help support me and Stephanie in the fight for liberty. Grab a box of Founding Flavors coffee at the Grift Shop on your way out at forlibertyshop.com. My recommendation, though, if you head over to forlibertyshop.com, you guys are going to love the Summer of Freedom collection. It's pinned to the top of the website. Go to forlibertyshop.com, the number 4libertyshop.com. Check out our Summer of Freedom collection. You can click on the coffee button at the top, Revolutionary Roast. That'll take you to our Founding Flavors page. But honestly, I can't wait. My Gulf of America Shark Beach Towel and my Gulf of America Pirate Beach Towel, both on their way. Stephanie and I might even be planning a little vacation soon. God help us, we really need it. We got a lot of stuff coming up. We got the documentary film shoot weekend that we're planning for. We've got the APDC Liberty Tour in Washington, D.C. We're going to be busy. Daddy needs a couple of days to go scuba dive. So I might try and take that before all of this summer gets crazy. We got so many Liberty projects we're cooking up here on the Wake Up America show's For Liberty Network. When you buy a Gulf of America Pirate Beach Towel, you get a cool beach towel. You also help support amazing content. You support the Wake Up America show, and it helps support our beautiful little redheaded baby. We literally have a redheaded libertarian baby making factory over here. So if you want us to make more redheaded libertarian babies, then bless us with something.
Can you bless me with something?
Oh, God. Can you imagine all these lonely bachelors here? Austin's just pumping out, for the next generation at least, beautiful redheaded libertarian girls. I'm telling you, support the For Liberty Network, support the future of America, American freedom. It'll be found in the oceans of beautiful redheaded girls. We'll see you right back again here tomorrow, Thirsty Thursday, a very royal Thirsty Thursday on the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network. Bye, guys. Thanks, America Media Icon. Good to meet you, brother. Hope to chat with you again soon. Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your Founding Flavors at apforlibertyshop.com.